I found out my husband had another family. Yeah, just let that sit for a second. The man I'd been married to for 5 years. The man I trusted with my whole life. Had a wife. And kids. Somewhere else. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't one big reveal, no movie-style confrontation. It started small. Almost stupid. A receipt. He came home late one night, said he'd been working late. He tossed his jacket on the chair, went straight to the shower. I was cleaning up, and a slip of paper fell out of his pocket. A grocery store receipt. No big deal, right? Except it wasn't from our neighborhood. It wasn't even from our city. It was from a place 2 hours away. And the date on it? Last Saturday. The day he said he was helping his cousin move. I laughed at first. Thought maybe he'd been on the road for work and stopped somewhere. But then I saw the items. Diapers. Baby formula. Children's cereal. We don't have kids. I felt my stomach twist. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe he was buying them for a friend? For his cousin? For anyone except the person I was starting to imagine? That night, when he came out of the shower, I asked him casually, "Hey, did you go shopping last weekend?" He froze. Just for a second. But I saw it. That tiny flicker of panic in his eyes. He smiled, shrugged, said, "Oh yeah, I grabbed some stuff for Mike." Mike. His coworker. I nodded. Pretended to believe him. But inside, something was already breaking. Over the next few weeks, the lies got heavier. Little things didn't add up. Work trips that didn't match his schedule. Phone calls he'd take in the other room. And one night, I heard him speaking softly, not like he does with friends. Tender. Gentle. And then, "Good night, baby. Daddy loves you." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, while he was in the shower, I took his phone. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. He had a locked folder in his gallery. I'd never seen it before. I knew the passcode, our anniversary date. He never thought I'd use it. When it opened, I stopped breathing. Photos. Of him. With a woman I'd never seen. And 2 little kids. One looked about 3. The other, maybe 6 months old. In every picture, he's holding them. Smiling. Like he's exactly where he's supposed to be. And in one, he's kissing her on the forehead. The same way he kisses me. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a loud crack. He called from the shower. "Everything okay?" I stared at the screen, at their faces, and said, "Yeah, everything's fine." But inside, I knew my marriage was over. I didn't confront him right away. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of the answer. Or maybe I just needed time to figure out what to do. But once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. It follows you. Every word he says, every smile, you wonder if it's all a lie. For the next few days, I acted normal. Cooked dinner, asked about his work, pretended to be the same wife I was a week ago. But inside, my heart felt hollow, like I was living in a play, reading lines from a script. And the worst part? He didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't care. One night he told me he had to work late again. But I already knew where he was going. So I followed him. I waited a few minutes after he left, grabbed my keys, and drove. He didn't go to the office. He didn't even head toward the city. Instead, he drove straight out of town, down the highway, then into a quiet neighborhood. I parked a few houses away. watched as he walked up to a small, blue house. He knocked once, then let himself in like he belonged there. I sat in my car, heart pounding, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard they hurt. I don't know how long I waited. Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe an hour. And then the door opened. A woman stepped out. The same woman from the photos. She was holding the baby. Behind her, a little boy ran out, shouting, "Daddy!" My vision blurred. It felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. He bent down, scooped up the boy, kissed his forehead. Then he put his arm around her, the woman, and they all went back inside. I sat there, staring at that blue door until my hands stopped shaking. Then I started the car and drove away. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of wine, then another, and another. I wanted to cry, but nothing came. Just emptiness. He came home around midnight, smelling faintly of baby powder and some floral perfume that wasn't mine. He smiled, kissed my cheek, said, "Sorry, I'm late, babe." I just nodded, said, "It's okay." But that night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I knew I couldn't keep pretending. The next step would break everything. But I also knew I had to take it. The next morning, I woke up before him. I just lay there, listening to him breathe. It was strange, hearing the sound of someone you once loved and feeling nothing but cold. I thought about all the mornings we'd shared. Coffee in the kitchen. Jokes about how he always hogged the blankets. Little moments that used to feel like home. Now, they just felt like lies I didn't know I was living in. I got up quietly, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my phone. I wasn't going to confront him without proof. Real proof. So I started digging. First, phone records. He'd left his laptop in the living room, still logged in. I opened the billing account for his phone. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Her number, it was there. Hundreds of calls and texts. Some as late as 2 a.m. Then, bank statements. Payments to stores and restaurants in that same neighborhood where she lived. One of them, a jewelry store. My stomach sank. A week ago, he told me he was saving up for our vacation. Now I wondered who that necklace was really for. I heard the shower turn on upstairs. I had maybe 20 minutes. I went back to his phone, the one he guarded like his life depended on it. But last night, he forgot to plug it in. It was on the nightstand, unlocked. I opened the messages, found her name, and there it was. "Miss you already. Can't wait to see you tonight. Tell the kids Daddy loves them." And then, the one that broke me. "I wish I could fall asleep next to you every night." I closed my eyes. I didn't even realize I was crying until a tear dropped onto the screen. The shower stopped. I quickly put the phone back, wiped my face, and pretended to sip coffee when he came down. He kissed the top of my head like always. Like nothing was wrong. But something in me had shifted. This wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was fact. He had another life. And I was done being the woman in the shadows of it. I decided that day I was going to meet her. Face to face. The decision to meet her. It sounded brave in my head, but when I actually sat in my car, parked near that blue house, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't even know what I wanted to say. Was I gonna warn her? Accuse her? Ask her how long she'd been sleeping with my husband? I almost turned around. Almost. But then the door opened. She stepped out, holding the baby. Up close, she looked younger than I expected. Tired. Like someone carrying a weight she didn't sign up for. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and walked up to her driveway. "Hi," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She looked at me, confused. "Yes?" I swallowed hard. I'm Ethan's wife." Her face went pale. The baby shifted in her arms, sensing her sudden tension. For a second, she just stared at me, lips parted, like she couldn't process what I'd said. Then she whispered, "No, you're lying." I shook my head. "I'm not." Her eyes filled with tears. She turned, called into the house, "Ethan!" Panic shot through me. I didn't want him to see me here. But before I could leave, she grabbed my arm. "No, you need to tell me. How long?" I blinked. "You didn't know?" She laughed, bitter, shaky. "I thought he was separated. He told me his wife left him, that you were gone." And just like that, my anger shifted. Because I realized she wasn't my enemy. She was another one of his victims. We stood there, two strangers connected by the same lie, staring at each other while the baby fussed softly. "I think we need to talk," I said quietly. She nodded. "Come inside." As I stepped into that house, I couldn't help noticing the details. A framed photo of him with the kids, his shoes by the door, the smell of his cologne lingering in the hallway. It felt like stepping into a parallel universe, one where I didn't exist. We sat at her kitchen table. The baby was in a high chair, chewing on a teething toy, completely unaware of the storm around him. She poured us both coffee. Her hands were trembling. Mine, too. "I'm Julia," she said finally. Her voice was quiet, guarded. "Anna," I replied. For a few moments, we just stared at each other. I could see the questions in her eyes, the same ones swirling in my own head. She broke the silence. "How long have you been married to him?" 5 years, I said. Her eyes widened. She looked away, shaking her head. "I've been with him for 4, she said softly. I blinked. 4. That meant there was never a time when he wasn't cheating. "Did you know about me?" I asked. She met my gaze, and for the first time, I saw anger there. "No, he told me you were divorced, said you moved to another state. That you didn't want anything to do with him." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "Wow." And to me, he said he was working late, traveling for work. "I didn't even know you existed." Her eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "I thought I was building a life with him. We talked about getting married when the divorce was finalized." The word divorce hit me like a punch. He wasn't just cheating. He was planning a whole new future without me. I asked about the kids. The baby was his. The older boy, hers from a previous relationship, but he treated him like his own. Or at least, that's what she thought. We started comparing timelines, stories, excuses. And piece by piece, the puzzle came together. The late nights. The weekend work trips. The unexplained receipts. Every lie perfectly placed to keep us apart. By the end of it, we were both silent. The weight of what we'd learned pressed down on us. Finally, Julia said, "We can't let him keep doing this." I nodded slowly. "I think we need to confront him, together." Her eyes met mine. And for the first time that day, I saw something other than pain. I saw resolve. We spent the next hour making a plan. It felt surreal. 2 women, strangers until today, sitting together, plotting to take down the same man. Julia suggested confronting him at her house. "That way," she said, "he won't be able to run. He'll have to face both of us." I wasn't sure. I knew Ethan. He was a master manipulator. If we just threw accusations, he'd twist everything, make one of us doubt the other. So we decided we needed undeniable proof, something he couldn't talk his way out of. Julia had photos of him at her place with the kids. I had the phone records, the messages. But we wanted more. What if, I said slowly, we catch him in person? Her eyes lit up, but there was hesitation. You mean follow him? I nodded. He doesn't know we've met. If we're careful, we could see exactly how he splits his time, and if we catch him with both families, game over. So that's what we did. Over the next 3 days, we became partners in surveillance. We tracked his car, followed him to work, waited outside the gym, and every single day, he followed the same routine. Mornings with Julia and the kids, evenings with me. Seeing it with my own eyes was different from reading texts or looking at call logs. It was a knife in the chest, over and over. On the 4th day, we got what we were looking for. He told me he was working late. Instead, he drove straight to Julia's, had dinner with her, kissed her on the porch, and then drove to my place, smiling like nothing had happened. Julia and I exchanged a look. We had him. The next step was setting the trap. The plan was simple, or at least it sounded simple. Julia invited him over for dinner on Friday night. She told him she wanted to celebrate something. He agreed instantly, probably thinking he was walking into another evening of playing the perfect family man. What he didn't know was that I'd be there too. I arrived early. Julia and I sat in her living room, the baby asleep upstairs, the tension so thick I could barely breathe. Every sound made my heart jump until we finally heard his car pull into the driveway. He walked in, smiling, carrying a bottle of wine. When he saw me sitting there, the smile froze on his face. "Anna," he said slowly, like he wasn't sure if I was real. "What are you doing here?" I didn't answer. Julia spoke instead. We thought it was time the 3 of us talked. He looked between us, his eyes darting, calculating. "I don't know what you think you're doing." "Stop," I said sharply. "Just stop. We know everything, Ethan. The calls, the messages, the nights you spent here, then went straight to me. We've been watching you." His jaw tightened. He set the wine down, trying to keep his cool. "You've got it wrong. Julia, she's twisting things." Julia cut him off. "She's not twisting anything. You've been lying to both of us. For years." His face shifted, anger replacing the fake calm. "This is ridiculous. You're both acting crazy. I have responsibilities you don't understand." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, we understand perfectly. You wanted 2 lives. 2 women who didn't know about each other, and you thought you were smart enough to pull it off." Silence. Just the sound of the baby's faint cry from upstairs. Finally, he said, "You can't control who I see." Julia stood. Her voice was steady. "You're right, we can't. But we can walk away, and we will." For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He realized he was losing both of us at the same time. And this was just the beginning. Ethan didn't leave right away. He just stood there, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, like a trapped animal. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," he said finally. His voice was softer now, almost pleading. Julia crossed her arms. "How exactly did you mean for it to happen? 2 families? 2 women raising your kids without knowing about each other?" He ran a hand through his hair. "I was going to tell you both, eventually." I almost laughed. "Eventually? When, Ethan? On your deathbed?" His eyes flicked to me, full of frustration. "You don't understand." I stepped forward. "No, I understand perfectly. You wanted comfort, attention, love, on your terms. And you didn't care who you had to lie to as long as you got it." Julia's voice was steady, but I could see her trembling. Why, Ethan? Why couldn't you just choose? He hesitated. And then the truth slipped out. Because I loved you both. Silence filled the room. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't sweet. It was pathetic. I shook my head. That's not love. That's greed. He tried again, his tone more desperate. Julia, you gave me peace. Anna, you gave me passion. I couldn't give either of you up. Julia turned away, covering her mouth with her hand. I could see her shoulders shaking, not from sadness but rage. She spun back around. You don't get to keep us both, and now you don't get to keep either of us. He stepped toward her, reaching out. Please, don't do this. Think about the kids. That hit me too. The kids. Innocent, unaware. How would they even understand something like this? But Julia didn't flinch. They deserve a father who's honest, not a man who lives two lies. Ethan's face hardened. If you both walk away, you'll regret it. I met his gaze without blinking. No, Ethan. The only thing I regret is not seeing you for who you really are sooner. He didn't have a comeback this time. He just stood there, silent, cornered, defeated. And for the first time, I felt free. He left that night without another word. Just grabbed his jacket, slammed the door, and drove away into the dark. Julia and I sat there for a long time, not speaking. It wasn't relief yet, just emptiness. Like the silence after a storm, when you're still waiting to see what's been destroyed. Finally, Julia said, "He'll try to come back. They always do." I nodded. I know, but he's not walking through my door again. The next morning, the messages started. First to me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk? Then to Julia, I made a mistake. The kids need me. We can work this out. We didn't respond. It was harder than I thought it would be, ignoring him. Not because I missed him, but because I was so used to reacting. To explaining. To defending myself. 2 days later, he showed up at my place. Banged on the door. Called my name over and over. I stood inside, frozen, my heart pounding. For a second, I almost opened it. Almost let him start talking, start twisting things again. But then I remembered the months of lies. The lipstick on his hoodie. Julia's tears. The baby's face. I walked away from the door. And eventually, he left. That night, Julia texted me. He came to my place too. We both knew what it meant. He wasn't fighting for us. He was fighting for control. And he had just lost it. It still hurt. God, it hurt. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was the one choosing what happened next. A week passed. No more knocks on the door. No more late-night messages. Just quiet. Julia and I still talked every day. It was strange. We had started as strangers, linked by betrayal, but somewhere along the way we'd become friends. Real friends. One morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through my window. For the first time in a long time, I didn't wake up with that heaviness in my chest. I didn't grab my phone to check for his messages. I just breathed. Later that day, Julia called. Her voice sounded lighter, too. I told the kids, she said, in a way they could understand. It wasn't easy, but I think it was the right thing. I told her I was proud of her. And I meant it. After we hung up, I sat with my coffee, thinking about everything that had happened. The lies. The nights I cried myself to sleep. The constant second-guessing of my own worth. Ethan had taken so much from me. Time, trust, parts of myself I'd never get back. But in a strange way, he'd also given me something. He'd given me a reason to walk away, a reason to rebuild. That evening, I packed up the last of his things, the sweater, the mug he always used, even the hoodie that started it all. I put them in a box, taped it shut, and left it outside my door with a simple note, "Don't come back." Then I lit a candle, poured myself a glass of wine, and put on my favorite music. It wasn't celebration. It was peace. I didn't know what would come next. Maybe love again, someday. Maybe not. But I knew this. I would never settle for half of someone ever again. And as I sat there, the candlelight flickering across the room, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a better one.